Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's DAF. Bava Kamma Daf Nun Gimel. We are holding on Beis and Beis on the very last line. So the Mishnah teaches us Nafal Lefanav Mikol Kriya. We have a pit, and there's a fellow excavating, digging deeper. There is Kol Kriya. There's that sound, that noise coming from that excavator. And an animal walks by and falls headfirst into the bar. Nafal Lefanav Mikol Kriya. So he was frightened by this noise and he fell right in. Something happened to him. The person who owns that pit is chayav, is liable. But if he's nafal achrav, he falls, backwards, he's patur. We have several ways to explain this Mishnah. Amar Rav lefanav, when the Mishnah says that you're chayav if the animal fell lefanav, frontwards, lefanav mamash, means literally he fell down on his face into the bar. And Rashi explains, umeis min hevel, he died due to the humidity, the lack of oxygen, the stuffiness, which according to Rav is the reason why a person is chayav if something happens in a bar that he dug in the street, because he's not chayav for the chavata, the impact, the bang, because that happened with that collision was with karka olam, the ground doesn't belong to the fellow who made the bar, it's public territory, so the chiv is only because of the hevel. So lefanav means he fell face first into the hevel, and he sort of lost his source of oxygen that made him vulnerable and susceptible to damage. La'achrav mamish. But if he fell backwards, in which case his face was not covered, and he was not really stuck on the bottom of the bar where the hevel is. He had plenty of circulation. He did not have the hevel factor. In this case, the Mishnah says you're patur. V'zev bar. Either case, lefanav or achrav is speaking within the bar. And the Mishnah is teaching us this very point. A bar b'shas rabim is only chayav if it generated hevel, if he died because of the hevel, such as in the first case when he fell lefanav. But if it's if he fell backwards and he had no hevel encounter with the hevel, so it's only the chavata, the impact that killed him. That has nothing to do with the baal bar. You don't pay for that. Rav l'tamei. Rav goes like his shita. Damarav bar shechiva olav Torah. When the Torah held one responsible for digging a bar in the street, it's only with respect to the hevel element of the bar and not the chavata. Lahav lo chavata. So according to Rav, it's exactly what the Mishnah is teaching us. Hevel yes, chavata no. Shmuel disagrees because he held that you're liable A, for the hevel, and B, certainly for the chavata, which is a direct consequence of your, pit, right? That impact, that drop, that bang is your doing. So Shmuel learns the Mishnah differently. Shmuel Amar bebar, if the animal fell directly into the bar, doesn't matter. Frontwards, backwards, hevel, no hevel, bein milafana, bein milachrav chayav. You know why? Because Shmuel holds, Shmuel tamei de Amar, when a person is chayav for a bar, it's with respect to the hevel element and certainly the chavata. So it doesn't matter in which way the animal fell in. So what then does the Mishnah mean when it says la'achrav you're patur? What does the Mishnah mean that the animal fell backwards because of the koil, the noise and the frightening sounds coming from the excavators? Why the patur? Why you patur? Going to niskal bebar. What happened was like this. He tripped on the bar. It means like this. He sort of jumped back and he hit the bar, and the bar made him trip, and he landed on the street, not in the bar, on the street. So in this case, the Baal HaBar doesn't pay, because he's only a goyrem, a grama. He caused. It's causation. It's not direct, injury from the bar. It's because he hit the floor due to the fact that the bar tripped him. So in that case, he's patur. Here comes a kasha from my brisa of a bar, bein lefanav, bein la'achrav chayav. The brisa says, or seems to say, that an animal that falls into a bar and is harmed, is killed in the bar, whether he fell in this way or that way, you're chayav. Tif to the Rav, that's a kasha on Rav who says only frontwards. Amrav Chizda, well, here it's a different type of bar. It's a bar in your backyard, for which you're chayav for chavata as well. Moed Rav, of course Rav agrees. Bebar b'shusay, If it's a bar in one's private property, the chayiv, you're chayiv either way, because, very simply, because the victim tells the landowner, either way, you have to pay. If the animal died because of the hevel factor, it's your hevel. If he died because of the chavata, it's your chavata, it's your land, it's your property. So, with respect to Bar B'Shisa Rabbim, there we have the whole shaila. Rav says only hevel, and Shmuel says chavata, but Bar B'Shisa Yachid, it's your hevel, it's your chavata, your chayiv. Rabbi Amar, here comes teretz number 2 to this brisa, which says, whether he fell in this way or that way, you're chayiv. He flipped over midway as he's falling. Initially, he fell face first. He was sort of choked in the air by the lack of oxygen, and then he sort of flipped over to his back. Because the initial encounter with the hevel had a bad effect on the animal, and that made him susceptible to the death that followed. So that's another pshat in the brisa. Rabbi Yosef Amar, third pshat. You're thinking that the bar harmed the shur, just the opposite. The shur, the animal, damaged the bar or the content of the bar. How? Mind you, it was a water hole, a water storage facility, and the animal falling into the water spoiled the water. So it doesn't matter if he fell frontwards, backwards, or sideways. Ultimately, he spoiled the water. The lo yishna doesn't matter. Lafanav, lo yishna la'achrav, mechayiv, you have to pay. So bottom line, a bar b'shus Rab says, you only chayiv lafanav, because of the hevel, but not la'achrav, because of the chavata. Shmuel says either way you're chayiv. But if it's a bar b'shus yachid, you're chayiv either way. Or if he flipped over, you're chayiv. Or if he spoiled the water, you're chayiv. Tani Rav Chananya l'siyul Rav. Rav Chananya found a brisa which supports Rav's approach. V'nafal, the pasuk says the animal fell, and we assume falling is face first. Achibo derech nefila, you're only chayiv if the animal fell in face first, head first. Mikan omru nafal lafanam b'kol akriya chayiv, la'achar b'kol akriya potav v'zev bar. So if an animal falls into a bar, it depends how he fell. Head first, you're chayiv. Otherwise, you're potav, and this is like Rav. Amamar. Let's go back to the halacha nafal lafanam b'kol akriya chayiv. So the fellow inside is, excavating, making a ruckus. The animal got frightened, fell straight into the bar. Who's chayiv? The bar owner. Why? I didn't do it. The excavator did it. But my name of koira garam lei. You should blame it on the excavator who was making a racket and frightening the animal and caused the animal to fall in. He was the one who did it. Omar of Simbar Ashi Hamani Rabbanasni. We're going to and bottom. By the way, Rashi points out, very interesting. Rashi says the Balabar will say, "Look, it's not my fault; it's the Kaira's fault." But the Kaira, the digger, will absolve himself as well because he didn't directly pull the animal in there. He was just Gairim. His sound made had an effect and drew the animal to the bar. So it's a grama. So either way, everybody's potter. The Balabar blames it on the Kaira, and the Kaira says, "Look, I'm just a grama." So that's the kasha. Why is the Balabar paying? Amar Rav Simi bar Ashi. You know why? Hamani Rabbi Nasni. We're going with the famous Rabbi Nasni. The Amar who tells us like this: Balabar hazeka ko'avid. At the end of the day, where's the animal? The dead animal. It's inside the bar. He is the vehicle for ultimately causing death to the animal. Right? The animal is in the bar. That's where he died. So. So even though the Balabar sort of has a partner in crime, the excavator caused him to fall, but ultimately you can't collect from that person because he's just a grama, right? It was an indirect cause. So Rabbi Nassan holds when there are two partners involved in this, crime or in this carelessness, which makes them both liable, if one is not going to pay out for some reason, you go to the other one. He pays full. He sort of takes over the entire liability. Interesting. If you can't get a payout from the fellow digging because he's just a gurim, you take it fully from the balabar. The Sanya, we find the halacha as follows. This is where we have the machlekes between Rabbi Nassan who puts it all on the, one party's head, and Rabbanan who say no. So a case like this. Shor shedochav es chaver lebar. So you have a bar walking along, and a shor walking along the street, and another shor shoves him into a local pit. Bala shor chay, bala bar pater. So the Rabbanan hold, who's responsible? The owner of the animal, or the owner of the bar, where he died? According to Rabbanan, the initiator. The shor is fully responsible. Leave the bar out of the picture. The Bala shor pays 100%. Rabbi Nosson Omer, not so quick. Bala shor mishal mechza, I agree the Bala shor pays 50%. Ubala bar mishal mechza, the owner of the bar is also partially at fault. He had a pit in the street where the animal died, pays 50%. Asks the Gemara, Tanya, we seem to have a brisa that presents the numbers a bit differently. The Balabur pays 3/4 of the damage, and the Balashar 1/4. And here we said it's 50-50. Like Kasha, the answer is like this: Habatam Habamuat. If the shor that shoved was just a tam, he'll pay 25%. Soon we'll explain why. And the Balabar is 75%. If the shor was a mud, then it's 50-50. Asks the Gemara, how do we get to these numbers? Ubetam Ikasavar. What does Rabbi Nosson hold? How does he get to these numbers by the tam, right? Ikasavar hay kule hazeka avad. Vai kule hazeka avad. So, there are two ways to look at this sort of, joint attack. Is it considered as though the shor did 100% and the bar did 100%? So each one is sort of killing him each one on his own could have killed the victim. Right? The shor, goring him would have killed him, and the falling into the bar would have killed him. So either way, he would have died. So each one is sort of independently responsible. Each one did 100% of the act. So then, just split it evenly. Hai Mishal and Palga. Hai Mishal and Palga. So each one should pay 50%. The Balashar sort of killed them entirely. Chatzi Nezek, right? The Tam pays Chatzi Nezek, pay 50%. Right? And the Balabar, look, I had a partner in crime, I pay 50%. So either way, it should be 50% each. Because Hai Palga Hezeka Avad. Vai Palga Hezeka Avad. On the other end, you can say like this. When there are two partners in crime, we look at it, as though each one did only 50%. He did half the attack. So let's sort of break it down. So the shor we said was a tam. Typically, a shor tam pays, 50. Let's say he caused $100 of damage, he pays $50. But now that he had a partner in crime, in which case he only did half of the, of what happened there. So he only pays half of what he would have paid if he would have been alone. He would have been alone 50, so now it's 25. So the question then is, why is the bar owner paying 75%? Balabar Mishal Palga, Balashar Ravi. I understand if you would tell me the Balabar pays 50 instead of the usual 100 that the bar pays. Here he had a partner, goes down to 50. Well, Balashar pays Rabia because typically a tam pays only half of what he did, and here he only did half of that because he had the bar joining him. So he only goes to, he's going to pay 25. So it's a total of 75. So the victim loses $25. I mean, how do you get to tack an extra fee to onto the Balabar? Why should he pay 75%? So we understand why it would be 50-50. Let's say if it was a muad, 50-50, because he's fully responsible. He's fully responsible. They split it. If the shor is a tam, I would understand, why each one would pay 50, because if you go with the mindset that each attacker is fully responsible, so they split it. On the other end, if they're, each one only half responsible because it's sort of, a partnership in what happened. So the Bal Asher goes from 50, which would be the regular Nechatzi Nezek fee, to 25. And the Bal Bar goes from 100, which is typically what a bar pays. He doesn't get any discounts. It goes down to 50. So it's 50 plus 25. How do you get to give the bar 75, a bill of 75? Amar Rava. Not so quick. Rabbi Nosson. Who's the one, who presented this shita? That's Rabbi Nosson. Dayanahu. He's a famous Dayan. And he really, grasped the depth of the halacha. So this is what he meant to say. This was the rationale behind this formula. He's working with the mindset that each attacker is responsible on his own, independently responsible, fully responsible. And the question was, so even though the shur is a shur tam, but if he did the entire thing and the balabar did the entire thing, so a shur pays 50%. So instead of 100, you pay 50, and the bar pays 50 because he has a partner. So there you go, 50-50. How do you get to 25-75? Because listen to this, the Bal Ashar can sort of address the Balabar and say, look, if I was really on my own, I would pay $50 because I'm a shur tam. But now that I had somebody with me, ultimately I deserve a discount, some discount. Should I say my partnership with you, Maya, honestly, what helped me? How did it benefit me? Maya, honestly, I have to have some sort of discount because I had a partner. So therefore, he drops to half of what he would have had to pay. Damage was 100, shur tam is 50, because I had a partner, I go down to 25. So that's how the fellow ends up with 75, because the shur only gives 25, the other fellow, the Balabar, gives 50. You bought same another pshat. Let's switch tracks. Each attacker is deemed to have done half of the damage. So the question was, Kakashi Lach, Balabar Mishalam Palga, Ubalashar Mishalam Revia. Why don't we say like this? That the Balabar only pays 50 because he only did 50% of the damage. And the Balashar who did 50% of damage, he's a shur tam, so he only gives half of that, so it's a quarter, it's 25. And the victim should lose 25. So how do you get to 75-25? Here's a punchline. The Bal Ashar can turn to the Balabar and say like this. We're talking about the Bal Ashar, the victim. Where did I find my dead animal? Where? In your pit. You are the primary player here, so to speak. Look, you're telling me stories about a pusher and a shover, or somebody was out there pushing my shur into you. Where did I find? In your, that's where he died. You killed him. Your bird killed him. Okay, I'm willing to settle. Be reasonable. Whatever I can collect from the Bal Ashar, no problem. I'll deduct it from your bill. Whatever I can't, you're paying. Sure, I'll take that money. But whatever I cannot collect from the Bal Ashar, such as in this case where I can't go more than 25, I'm going to take from you. That's Rabbi Nosson's chidush. And that takes us back to the beginning of the sugya. A bird in the street and a fellow was digging, frightening the animals, causing them to fall in. Why can't the Balabar shift the blame to the kaira, who's really patak, who's just a grama? The answer is because the victim of the animal, the owner of the victim animal, can turn to the Balabar and say, look, this is like Rabbi Nosson. I can't collect from the digger. It's just a grama. Where did I find my animal? In your bar. You killed him. I collect from you. Whatever I cannot collect from the other person. Amarab, here comes a new Allah. So bottom line is, when we have sort of two partners in crime, the shur who shoved the other guy into the bar, Rabbanan say it's the initiator is fully responsible. Whereas Rabbi Nosson says, look, where did I find in your bar, you pay. Whatever I can deduct, I'll gladly deduct. But whatever I cannot get from the other person, I'll get from you. Here comes a new case. Person places a stone, a stumbling block, right near a pit in the street. Animal comes along, trips on this stone that Reuven places and trips into the bar and dies in there. Who pays for that? Bono l'machloikis Renosan Rabbanon. So here comes the machlokes again. According to the Rabbanon, who pays? The initiator. The fellow who places a stone. He's totally responsible. According to Renosan, it would probably, Rashi said, it would be a split, because ultimately they were both, partners in crime. Pshita, well, obviously this is the, similar case to the previous case. What's Rabba's point? What's Rabbi adding? Perhaps I would say, perhaps it's only in that case where Shur number 1 pushed Shur number 2 into the bar. Over there, the Baal HaBar can tell the Baal HaShur, Ilav bira didi, toira didocha v'katalei. The Baal HaBar has a right to get some payment from the shur who shoved into the bar, because he can tell the Baal HaShur, look, if not for even without my bar being in the street, your shur attacking the other shur, that itself would cause his death. So I have a right to have you, pay for part of the damage. But in our case with the stone near the pit, but here, who says that the placer of the stone has to contribute? He can tell the Baal HaBar, look, if not for your pit in the street, my little stone, what's the worst it could have done? You have a miskal ba, even if the animal would have tripped on my stone, he would have gotten up. Continued on his merry way. Have enough. He would have fallen and gotten up. No damage. So don't hold me responsible. You're fully responsible. Leave me alone. You pay. Kamash mon the chiddush is no the amalei, because the Baal HaBar cannot respond and say, Ilav Evan, if not for your stone, nafal a beer wouldn't fall into my pit. So basically, we're both equally responsible. Itma. Here comes another case. We have sort of two partners in crime. Shur, you have an ordinary shur owned by an ordinary person who's fully liable, responsible for any damages that shur causes. V'shur psula mikdashim. You have an animal called psula mikdashim, a former carbon which had a mum, and the halach is that if that type of animal attacks, there's no payment. It's not called, privately owned. It has some sort of residual kedusha. Okay, so you have two animals attacking a third. A regular shur, a shur p'sul mikdashim, shenach, who attacked the third animal and killed it. Who pays how much? Abaya amar misham chatzi nezek. So the p'sul mikdashim pays nothing, but Reuven, who owns the other shur, pays half. Ravina amar misham ravia nezek, a quarter. How? Why? Hava betam. So we have several ways to explain this. Abaye and Ravina both speaking that the shur was a shur tam. If he would attack on his own, he paid 50%. So why does Ravina say only a quarter? Hakarabonon. Vakarabonasan. He's going like the Rabbanon. That even when you cannot collect from a partner, such as in this case where you cannot collect from the carbon, the p'sul mikdashim, you still can't collect more from me. You can't inflate my bill because you can't get your payout. You can't, you have no recourse from the other guy, right? So I stick to my 25%. Remember, a shur tam only pays 50%. If I was on my own, but I had a partner, so I go down to 25%. Although you cannot collect from my partner in this case because he's exempt from, he has no liabilities, but you're stuck. You have no right to collect more from me to sort of compensate for my partner. Abaye says 50%. So that we sort of tack on. We sort of require you to fill in if your partner can't pay. Iboy say another pshat. Both Abaye and Ravina are going to Rabbanon. We don't inflate your bill due to your partner's, not paying. Very simple. One is a tam. Tam only pays 25% because he had a partner. But b'muad, he was a muad. Instead of going 100, he goes down to 50 because he had a partner. There's another version of this whole discussion. Abaye Amar Chatzi Nezik, Ravina Amar Kuli Nezik. So again, we had a regular shur, where the shur, Psula Mikdashim, attacked the third animal, killed him. So according to this version, Abaye says, the Baal Asher pays 50%, Ravina says fully. Why? Hava b'muad. Both are speaking that the shur is a muad, typically plays full. Hakrabbanon, Hakrabbanon. Abaye is going like, Rabbanon, I had a partner. I'm only willing to pay 50%. Just because my partner is not paying, you can't inflate my bill. Whereas Ravina is going to Rabbi Nassan. You can't collect from the Psulam Mikdashim, so I'm fully responsible. Iba Yisayim another pshat, Haba Rabbi Nassan. Both Abaye and Ravina going to Rabbi Nassan. Haba Muad. So if I'm a Muad, I'm fully responsible. Especially because you can't collect from my partner. Haba Tam. If I'm a Tam, so I'm only partially responsible. I go down to 50%. Amar Rava. Here comes an interesting sort of puzzle. Like a riddle. Shor v'adam shadach v'labar. Okay, so let's picture this. An animal and a person pushed something into a pit. Okay, let's say pushed a person or pushed an animal. Leaning the zakim kulon chayav. So when it comes to simple damage payment, all three are equally responsible. The shor, the person, and the bar. Okay, because they're all liable for damages. But in terms of those extra 4 payouts, pain, doctor bills, unemployment, embarrassment, or dmei velodes if they harmed an unborn child, that's only something that a person would pay for. Adam chayiv, only a person is liable. V'shor ubar paturim, but the animal and the bar are part from these payments. Linin kaifer, let's say they shoved a person in there who died, so there's that compensation to the family. Shleishim shalevet, if it was an eved that was killed, you pay that 30 coin fee. So these apply to only the shur. Shur has to pay that. Shur chayav. Adam ubar patur. A bar is potter from these things. There's no kaifer. There's no shleishim by the bar, and the adam as well. Why? You see, Rashi explains because if a person shoves another person and kills him, if he did it intentionally, he gets misa. There's no payment. And even if it was unintentionally, there's still no payment because potentially it can bring misa, and Rashi brings the whole shita we had in DAF Lamed Hey. So in any case, a person doesn't pay for these things. Linin kalim. Let's say the person and the animal shoved a kli into the bar, or v'shor psulam gdashim, this type of form or carbon to the bar. Who has to pay how much? Adam v'shor chayavim. So it's split between the person and the shor. They have to pay for these things. The bar doesn't pay. He doesn't pay for kalim. Why? We know that. He doesn't pay for the psulam gdashim either. My time of why? Why is it that exemption specific to a bar? The Torah, in describing the consequence of that fall, speaks about a carcass which belongs to him. We'll see in a minute who that is. So bottom line is, we're speaking about a bar owned. We're talking about an animal that falls into a bar that died, and that animal can be owned and sold and whatever. It's private property. Only in a case where the vela can be sold, can be owned, as opposed to shor of a psula mikdashim. Once it dies, you have to bury it as its own halachis. So the bar is not liable for that. It's not included in the halacha of bar. Asks the Gemara, remember the pshita le Rava? Is Rava clear on that? Rava had a question regarding this very halacha. The boy Rava presented a shaila. Shor psula mikdashim, right? This type of animal, shenafal a bar, falls into a bar, mal. Is the bar liable or not? You see, we have the lashon v'amesi eloi. Is it coming for this or maybe for something else? Hi v'amesi eloi, is it coming to tell you to exclude this type of animal? B'misham esheloi, only if you can own the nevelo yotzaz, as opposed to this she'enam esheloi, you can't own it, so you pot. Or dilmo, maybe it's coming for something else. V'amesi eloi is teaching us lebalim metapim b'nevelo uda, it's coming for that. That's the halacha we had back on Daf Yud, that the owner of the victim animal has to tend to the nevela, meaning, let's say it goes down in price, after the attack, so it's his business, his problem. So v'amesi eloi means he's the owner, he's in custody of the nevela. So it's coming for that, not for the exemption of the psul mikdashim. So why is it so simple? Why is Rava in our Gemara assuming that it's coming to teach us this halacha? So it's the Gemara basa the baya the pashta. True, initially he wasn't sure, but then he concluded that in fact v'amesi eloi is coming for this purpose, to exempt psula mikdashim. Asks the Gemara, okay, so then he used up the pasuk. It's not available for the halach of the balim matapim b'navel. Ela balim matapim b'navel. How does he know that halach manale? Torah says it twice. Nafkalim and Mamesi Eloi, the shur. By the shur attacking the other shur, it says the same point. Mamesi Eloi. Coming to teach us that the owner of the victim animal is in charge of the nevela. And Mamesi Eloi by the bar is coming to be paiter to exempt the psulah mikdashim. How do we know which way to go? Which pasuk is meant to be applied for which halacha? My chazas, who says, why do you choose to say the Vamesi Eloi, this shur, the one that says by the shur, mafkas le is used for lebal and matap benavela, and the other pasuk Vamesi Eloi, which says by the bar, mafkas le, that is being applied lemisha meshaloi to exclude the psulah mikdashim. Maybe go the other way. That a bar is chayiv for psulah mikdashim. Who says, who says to sort of direct it this way? It's more probable to go this way, that the p'tur is gabe bar. At this exemption, this p'tur is by the bar. We find other leniencies by the bar. If keli falls in your potter, so it makes sense sort of to add another kula as well by the bar as opposed to the shur. Adarabah, just the opposite. P'tur gabe shur, we find exemptions by the shur as well. Every time only pays 50%, right? Shegin potter b'chatzi nezek. Well, kula nezek, we never find a full exemption. Kula nezek means layashkichan, and therefore we choose to apply the p'tur to bar as opposed to shur. Okay, let's recap today's daf. We discussed Rav and Shmuel again. What element of harm is causing liability? Is it the hevel, is it the chavata? So Berber says Rav says hevel, Shmuel says chavata, Berber says Echel, agree it's both. We had the Mishnah which says that he fell forwards, he fell backwards. We had several ways to explain the Mishnah. We had the Rabbanan who says the initiator is the one that's responsible. Rabbi Nassan says, well, it depends. They're both partners in crime, and ultimately if you can't collect from one, the other one has to step in and fill in for the other fellow and pay in full. We had a whole configuration of a person, a shur, push something into a bar, and we discussed who has to pay what and when. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.